recording and admit. Well, hey there, Steph. I haven't seen you in a gajillion months. Well, actually, I haven't seen anybody. So
It has been a gajillion months.
it
It's
has
been at
been.
least 10 years, right?
I mean, yeah, right. It's like March 93rd, isn't it?
I thought it was like March like 529.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
I keep losing track. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Welcome, 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 everybody. There we go. Okay. It's good to see you. I think we pulled in from an absolutely beautiful day, right? It is positively gorgeous outside, but Christmas is coming.
It sure is. I love the fall backgrounds, Deb and Susan. You guys very, very seasonal. I like it.
You like that? Yeah, I think we missed it though. I mean, I think Susan's more on top of it. Hers is real. Mine's just grabbed off of a website somewhere. But
well, mine's real from a year ago, but
yeah, it's fun. But these backgrounds, when you move around and it gets weird. So, but it's much better than my messy dining room. I can tell you that. So welcome. Let's join together in a prayer and then we'll get started. So if you'll pray with me. Good and gracious God, we are grateful for you bringing us together. We are grateful for this beautiful day, this last glimpse of summer and fall as we head into the season that we want to talk about. God, we are here in anticipation. Only church people are thinking about Christmas right now, but we are thinking about Christmas and we have been. So be with us as we strive to celebrate the birth of your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Be with us as we strive to serve our children, to serve our adults, to serve our community, and to serve you. We ask this all in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so you all know me. I'm Deb Milcarrick. I'm the GP. You know Susan? Everybody knows Susan, right? So Susan DeGeorge is the stated clerk, a colleague and partner of mine in this presbytery. And we are grateful that you are coming together today. We just wanted to have a conversation, or we're going to introduce ourselves in a second, but we wanted to have a conversation about some ideas that were sort of running around the presbytery. I see them in your newsletters and I see them on Facebook. And I thought, wow, let's all get together on the same screen and talk about some ideas about how we're doing this particular event in the life of the church during these strange times that we find ourselves. We are recording this, just to let you know, so it's going to be thrown up on the website. So there's a couple of folks that I know of that couldn't make it during this time, so they're behave, be nice, and we're going to put you up on the website. If you would, again, this is only our second time together, but I feel it's really fruitful, and I've gotten some feedback from you all that it's been pretty fruitful, our discussions. So if you would put your contact information into the chat, if you get a chance while we're having our conversation, we would really like to make this time available to you if you want to continue to come together on a regular basis, on a semi-regular basis, as we move through these new seasons of the Christian education year. So if you want to just go around and introduce yourselves, we will start with Steph because she's the first one on my screen. And then Steph, just, grab somebody else and just tell us who you are, where you're from. And let's start with Advent. So since we're right around the corner of that, let's start with Advent and go ahead and introduce any questions you have or any thoughts that you have around Advent. So Steph, take it away.
Sure. All right. So I am Steph Hare. I am the Director of Youth Ministries at First Yorktown. I've also been more and more, especially since the whole COVID pandemic hit, I've been helping out a lot of our children's and Sunday school programming, trying to keep things rolling and make things virtual and figure out how to make it all work. The daily struggle. And let's see, what else? Oh yeah, so Advent. So along with co-pastor Tammy Seidel and I, we've been sort of brainstorming about, how to do Advent and encourage families to do Advent, do some Advent activities as a family in homes. And which is actually kind of timely because we're trying to, it's part of our sort of larger vision of trying to encourage faith formation at home with our families anyway. So let's just, let's grab the bull by the horns with Advent. One of the things we're actually thinking about right now, we're sort of focusing around the whole tradition of the Jesse tree. So we're looking at different kind of formats for Jesse tree type activities that we can send to families, either in the form of a book or the form of a kit, or a color it yourself. She and I tomorrow are spreading out some samples of things that we have and trying to figure out what is most cost effective and we think going to be sort of the most attractive and easiest way that we can kind of grab families into kind of latch into focusing on that tradition. We figured since it's kind of like, an Advent calendar, but not one that you're going to open up and get a piece of chocolate out of, something that will hopefully encourage families to engage in some scripture and hopefully make it fun and possibly make it a tradition and that they can carry on into next year. So that's sort of specifically where our brains are at this particular moment. But we're just figuring it all out.
Well, I'll tell you, at 10 years of Christian education, the Jesse tree was always my go-to. That, and do you remember chrysamons?
Yeah.
Right? Remember those from days gone by out of the styrofoam and cutting those out? And that was a tradition as well. Are you using particular resources or are you coming up with this up here?
No, we've sort of Googled our brains out and we actually ordered a couple of different books and a couple of different little kit things that we're gonna, we're sort of figuring out, which one we think is the most kind of cost effective, but also the least cheesy, something that's going to be, visually interesting as well. But along with having enough either biblical background to it that families can do it themselves, or we're going to find something that's fairly basic and we're going to we're figuring out whether we've got the wherewithal to do like a daily email for each of the scripture lessons and that we can email out to all of our whole church family. We're really focusing this activity on families with kids, but we're sort of branching it out to being like, hey, even if you're empty nesters living at home, but you want to do a daily devotional around this activity, we want you to participate in it too. So it's we're hoping for it to be kind of an all church activity. But
how will you get these kits out?
Let's see. Well, that's a good question. It
Okay.
kind of depends on what format they end up taking, whether we're using something that's like a poster that folds up that we can just pop in the mail, or whether we're doing something that's a little chunkier and harder to mail. We might do what we did for both Palm Sunday, for our distribution of palms, and at the beginning of the Sunday school year, was we set up kind of a little drive-by in front of the church where we had families drive up and we literally kind of handed them things right in their car
Nice.
window. So that might be one that's been a great thing that's worked pretty well in the past. And then for families that can't drive up on the day that we do the drive up, then we arrange some porch drop-offs of stuff. So either way, those always also turn into fun opportunities to just like actually get to see people in person and not on a screen and talk to them for 5 minutes, which, is always kind of exciting and, provides at least a little way to make some connection that we haven't been able to have in the last, how many months now?
Right. Great. Thank you. Carol, how are you? It's good to see you.
Great. Good to see you as well. But I'll just jump right
Down the
in.
road there. Yeah. What's up down there in Scarsdale?
It's my name's Carol. I'm at Hitchcock Presbyterian Church. We're kind of working backwards right now because we're trying to pre-record our Christmas pageant this week. So we're like trying to get it all done as all the emails seem to be coming out from all of the cities that there are COVID shutdowns in schools. So we'll see what happens one day at a time. But in terms of Advent, we usually traditionally do an Advent bag, usually the Sunday before Advent, and we're still trying to do that this year. I bought all my stuff, one of a little prayer cube, a chain for scriptures, and then I've also just tried to clean out my closets this year with all the extra stuff from previous years, and saying how much I have, can I top it up, and we get those out to families through bags. I typically drop them off. I'll have, like you said, like a drive-by, you can come and pick them up, family, but I quite like actually dropping it to their homes as well and seeing them and being in contact. So it kind of works both ways. We are still doing our Wednesdays at Hitchcock. We've been very blessed with the weather, where we have every Wednesday, we have choir and crafts for kids all outdoors. And so hopefully that still can continue through November, but I'm assuming that'll probably come to a close as we head into December. So that's been an opportunity to kind of take whatever we're in as we're approaching Advent. We'll do some Advent wreaths, talk about Advent, but also what we're giving to the families with the bags are things they can do at home also. And then I'll be honest, we have to look at December. I've kind of pushed that to the side as I'm handing out costumes this week, but which seems a little surreal, but I guess December will seem really easy. I don't know. So that's kind of where we are with Advent right now. But I love the idea of, I'm going to look into some of these that you just brought up. Because I think, that's our next step is focusing now in on how we can continue to have that conversation about Advent.
I'm going to put that Christmas pageant in the parking lot because I imagine that's
Figured.
something to talk about as well, too. So, hey, Denise, how are you?
There. Okay,
There you
sorry,
go.
got stuck
There
on
you
it.
go.
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm with the Katona Church, and for Advent, we're at the preliminary stages, but we were hoping to do some form of like Advent calendar that we could send home to the families as well. And we had a couple people come up with ideas, and we have a community center we participate in, which is very close to the church, and we have a long relationship with them. And given that it's the holidays, we were thinking we'd kind of maybe look at an Advent calendar where families could look to purchase a food item every day, and then ultimately at the end, make a donation to the community center at their food bank, and do it that way. Again, thinking, families are shopping anyway, so if they can get the kids involved, it might make it a little more interesting for them. And then again, a way for us to give to the community at the same time. So giving it, a little more purpose that way too.
Awesome. JP, how are you?
Good.
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Sure.
Yeah, I missed the last one. I had it on all three of my calendars and still missed it. So, sorry about that.
Those are the days. Those are the days.
So I'm JP Marshall. I'm over at Rye Presbyterian Church, and oh my gosh, we're just starting our conversation about the pageant, which we're gonna do via Zoom. So we'll see. And the children and youth choirs have been learning how to do musical signing. So we're going to try to incorporate that into the pageant, and everyone can sing carols from home with them muted, so it's not this cacophony of weird timing and all that. So it'll be interesting. But for Advent, for just Christian Ed wise, I've been leaning on illustrated ministry a lot during this time. They're their compassion camp was great for summer. We're doing Beatitudes right now for Sunday school. I'm solely the Sunday school, like the one Sunday school teacher right now. So what my plan is to, I just purchased their Advent devotional for families, and I'm going to turn that into a Sunday school curriculum and do that on Zoom on Sunday mornings, but then also send out the family materials via email so that they can do it, which is kind of what we've been doing now, where all of them come with family pages and stuff. So that's been good to connect that, what we're doing on Sunday mornings with what they're doing at home together, hopefully. So yeah, that's got like a few things. It's called, I don't know if all of you heard of it, Illustrated Mystery. They've, the Advent one's called Do Not Be Afraid. So they go through all the different themes of each week of hope, peace, joy, all that stuff. Have their own Advent calendar to go with it, all the crafts for each week too. So looks promising. So yeah, kind of leaning on that.
Sounds awesome. Thank you. Julia, are you here? We've got two Julias here. Julia Cho. There you are. Hi. You're muted. Try that. I think you're okay now.
Okay.
There you go. Okay.
Hello, my name is Julia Cho. I'm from Korean Presbyterian Church of New Rochelle, and I'm in charge of Children's Church. And this is my fourth year serving at this church. So it's like really, everything is like, the plan is, everything is like smashed, trash the garbage. So I'm trying to get new things done. So Evan, I really didn't have good ideas. I was just thinking about just doing the calendar, but I was just doing searching, like Googling what to do for during the Advent. So like calendar with little, little mini craft to do and with the verse. But I didn't really get into like details.
Great. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Patty.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Patty Zollinger with Jumon's Presbyterian Church in New City. And we don't have any plans right now for Advent or Christmas, except that our junior choir director is in the process of working on a pageant with music with the kids, but also families doing readings in between. So that's where we are right now with that. We have been having outdoor Sunday school every other week in coordination with the Joyful Noise Choir. And so that's been pretty good for the kids to get together. But I don't know how much longer we'll be doing that outside, so.
We really have been blessed with some unusual weather. That's for sure. But yeah, well, that's great. That sounds good. I know that there have been gatherings just like this of the music folks came on together, and the pastors. I didn't mean to forget them. No, the pastors were on twice talking about Christmas and Advent. But I also know that you all play a pretty integral part in all of that. Same kind of thing, trying to bring it all together into an experience. Are you leading any? Well, let me ask this first. Tell us about your Christmas pageant. Is there going to be one? And if so, what does that look like? Because I do want to say, it's pretty likely we're not going to be in the building, right? So if we haven't come to that decision yet, best case scenario is that you'll be able to have a couple people like we're doing now. How you would ever choose that is who that would be is challenging. With all the family that comes in and the college students coming home, and it just gets a little crazy. And the fact that they're predicting that after Thanksgiving, we're not going to be in such a great place. So it would really be, I think in all everyone's benefit to plan for remote. So you don't get slapped in the face 2 days before when the county closes you down or you're a hot spot or whatever happens. Just plan for that, and maybe some sort of hybrid situation would happen, but it's not likely. So I did want to ask you about your Christmas pageants. If some folks are not going to do it this year, are you all, any of you all, planning on trying something? Just jump right in.
Well, at Yorktown, we have a really devoted church member who has directed the Christmas pageant now for, I don't even know how many years. And he's right now working on taking our traditional script and dividing it up in a way that we could pre-record kind of each of the little scenes and some of the parts separate from each other. And then I think the game plan is going to be stitch it together into a video that's going to be, shown on Christmas Eve through our probably via Facebook Live, because that's how we've been doing all of our Sunday morning services. So I'm fairly sure that's the game plan right now. I know that we also were sort of looking at the Illustrated Ministries pageant, option that they have, but JP is probably way more familiar with than I am. That sort of lays out how to do a virtual Christmas pageant. I think we're sort of got that in sort of the wings in case he can't quite figure out how to take our traditional script and divide it up. But definitely, one way or the other, we're definitely doing a virtual pageant.
I just had a question on that. If you do it on Facebook, are you doing kind of like, what's the term for it? Like, are you having people sign forms saying they're okay with their child being on social media?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question, because we'd sort of dealt with that around Children's Sunday last June, because we sort of did a similar thing. We sort of took our traditional format for Children's Sunday and had kids come in and record readings and things like that separately, and then put it all together. We, I can't remember what the wording was. We definitely sent out like an email to all of the parents and all the different Sunday school, the different grade levels, and said, we want your child to participate. However, that means being on camera. However, we're not going to put anybody's name under their face. So we're not going to ID children. We're just going to have them, up there reading. And for at least one of the Sunday school classes that wanted to do sort of like a little, they have a tradition of each of the kids in that class picks out their favorite Bible story from the year and does a little spiel about it. But obviously we traditionally would do that in the sanctuary. So they decided they wanted to try and do that, but record it. And for those kids in particular, they did give the parents the option of just recording the child's voice and with the visual just being a drawing that they did if they didn't want to have their child's face on camera. So that was an option for that particular thing. But definitely, obviously, anybody that we sort of, as we're putting out information about the pageant, that, participation in the pageant means that your child's face is going to be on social media, but we won't put any links to your family, or, we're not going to tag your family in it, and we're not going to put your child's name on the screen.
Yeah, we have a statement on our Sunday school registration form, which talks about permission for promotional material in social media.
I'll jump in as well. We are doing ours very similar to what you've just said. We actually have divvied up our pageant into scenes, and that's how we're going to be filming them. We have done a media form, a very long one, specifically for the Christmas pageant. Within that, we've talked about what we're doing, the fact that it is socially distant. It is 95% outdoors. and that it very specific to the pageant, and also what our social distancing guidelines are, and that they're going to respect and follow those. So we're asking every parent who's going to participate in the pageant to sign that. It's a great question about names, though. I didn't think about that. Whether because typically we do put names on. So I'm going to actually have to go back and think about that one. So that's a good point. And whether we just, because I have to say, a lot of our families and kids like their names at the end, kind of at the credits. And so I'm wondering if maybe it's better just to say all those that participated in the pageant instead of Mary was this person. So that's a great point. So thank you. We're doing, we kind of put together a team. The very first thing was we sat down with, our pastor and associate pastor and talked about, well, what is Christmas going to look like? And very quickly we said, yes, right now we can have 50 people in the church, but if 30 of those are in the pageant, that doesn't really leave many sitting in the congregation. So we then opted, we have some great people who are doing film and technology who thankfully, came on board. So we kind of have a team of 7 of us between parents, technology, our choir director, all involved, and worked to get those scenes broken down. How are we going to do it? We've basically only had one rehearsal, which was last Wednesday, and we're off to the races this Thursday if all things go well and it doesn't rain and nothing else happens. And then the idea will be that we have our family service on December 24th. We're pushing that to December 20th this year on that Sunday. The idea being we usually have a family service and then a traditional service after. But that service, if we are allowed to do it, there's probably going to be more than one. So we're going to have kind of something in the sanctuary. If anybody would like to come, it'll be bookended with a live. So kind of a live starting of that family service with the pre-recorded pageant in the middle. And then at the end, we'll finish up just as a normal service would be and with the benediction. People who have kids in the pageant will have kind of preference if they want to come, but that will clearly be capped. But we'll also show it via Zoom and social media as we normally do our Sunday worship services. And the only thing we've also done is, because we don't really have that transitional music between scenes that we normally have, we've actually gone out and tried to, get our kids that are in middle school to come back and play music. So we've got like a flute piece in between. We're going to have a Hitchcock band at the very end. Again, if we can get it all recorded, this is the idea. And we've really let parents, we've said, be creative with their masks, get into character, and try to do things we wouldn't normally have done. And the kids seem pretty excited about it. We talk about the movie stars and what we're doing with it. And, hopefully it's the only year we have to do it this way, but it's been kind of fun to be creative and unique and, work in a different way. So that's what we're planning on at the moment. Hopefully all things go as we have planned.
I just see creativity with these face masks, that's for sure. That's for sure. Anybody else? Anybody else trying a Christmas pageant?
We're not doing a Christmas pageant. I wish we could pull it off because it sounds so exciting what you guys are doing. But we are in the midst of starting to collect photos and videos of past pageants, hoping to put something together that we could show. And most likely it'll be during the December 20th service as well. And so far I've had a few people go, they're not the greatest pictures, but here are some. And so I'm excited to see what comes through. And it'll be neat to see some kids who may be older now, but when they were the little angels and things like that. So hoping we can get a lot of faces on the screen.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I kind of already went into ours a little bit, but yeah, we have Lisa, who's kind of our director she is the director of children's and youth choir. And so she's been doing this pageant for, I don't know how many years now. I think what she's trying to do is use our script we've been using for that. It's very basic. A lot of it is pretty much just straight from scripture. And so we're kind of limiting to our roles a little bit to the speaking roles. So kind of the older kids. And then we're thinking of encouraging, because the younger kids usually don't really care what's going on in the pageant. They just want to be an angel, a donkey, or a sheep. So we're trying to look for different households who want to be something together, like shepherds with sheep, or bunch of angels together, and kind of the same thing of like, we have these really nice costumes that we've used but we don't think they'll come back if we give them out this year, or if they do, not in great condition. So we're just saying pretty much go crazy, and then like all the families who have kids who are shepherds or whatever, will connect them with each other and encourage them to kind of come up with something together and see what it looks like. But yeah, I think it's going to be we've had a creative team with worship who just knows how to spotlight different things at certain times. So we're going to kind of get them in to spotlight different characters when they're talking, and do a lot of instruction at the beginning of telling people how to like do gallery view or speaker view, all that kind of stuff. We'll see. I don't have high expectations of it being the best production that will get an Emmy or whatever, but I think it will be fun. Especially some kids who I know are usually not into the whole big production, but will be comfortable dressing up as a whatever at home. And then we're gonna have, like, I think the only people we'll have in the church will be probably me, maybe Lisa, and our organist, Jason, who's going to play the piano for the carols and transitions and stuff. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Do we ever really know how it's going to go? You know, that's the thing. It's you know something's going to go wrong, and I'm every year.
I'm usually the shepherd of the shepherds. It's like the worst job possible. But
little boys and the little girl,
with sticks. It's insane.
That's right, with sticks.
So I'm thankful kind of for this year, just to get a break from.
That's right. That's right. But it was always something. It was always something.
Until it happened, you always held your breath. And then once something happened and went wrong, I was like, okay, now I can relax. We're in the pageant. So.
Well, there's joy in the story being the same year after year. So it's not as if we have to reinvent the story. That's the same year after year. But I do want to just tell you that last month, I have a granddaughter, 7 years old, in Baltimore. And last month, I got to go to Grandparents' Day. I never get to go to Grandparents' Day. All the grandparents got to go to Grandparents' Day. So I just want to encourage you to invite those folks, and to encourage your folks to invite family out of town. It's who doesn't love this? Who doesn't love the Christmas pageant? And to be able to do maybe even part of your Advent, some kind of personal invitation from the kids to whomever that's in California, or church members that have left, that have moved away, and possibly record it. If that's, if you are recording everything, that they might have this, and the parents are going to have this without having the White House press corps in the back of the sanctuary, right? With all the click and on cameras and all the cell phones and everything. Parents can actually watch it and pay attention to it this year. So there's some sunshine there in this challenging thing. What else do you all have going on that you can share with us? Anybody doing Advent wreaths? No? No wreaths this year? Okay.
I was just gonna say, in terms of lighting our Advent candles in our services on Sunday mornings for the 4 Sundays of Advent, traditionally that's, or I don't know for how long, but for a pretty long time, the tradition at Yorktown has been that members of the confirmation class with their families, read the liturgy and do the Advent candle lighting. But since we really haven't been doing, our Sunday morning services have been strictly online since March 15th. We have like a very small number of people in the sanctuary on Sunday mornings to the staff to make it happen, basically. So our game plan is to actually recruit 4 different families who are willing to light Advent, do a liturgy and light the Advent candle at home, and actually record it like the day before, and then integrate that into our services on each of the Sunday mornings. So we'll get kind of like a little family, and we're hoping to make it to make sure that they're 4 very different families instead of just doing all families of teenagers, like, which is fine because that's what it usually would be if we were doing confirmation class. It'll be like a family with young children, an older couple, without, little ones at home, but just the 2 of them, family with older kids, an intergeneration, multi-generational family, hopefully, so that we sort of get 4 little snapshots for our Advent candle lighting. So that's the game plan. We haven't done it yet, but that's the game plan.
Sounds wonderful. Bringing us to Christmas Eve. Now, I know that's, I don't know how much of this is in your territory or not. I know it was always in my territory, so I don't know about y'all, but what are you thinking about for Christmas Eve? Talk about what's going on. Patty, what's going on in Germans at Christmas Eve? Have you guys gotten that far yet?
Well, like you said, it's not really my area. That's the Music and Worship Committee. But
Okay.
the only thing I've really heard is that, we typically do a lot of decorations in the church, including a big Christmas tree, but everything's going to be minimized this year. There'll be some, but not as much because, like everybody's saying, there are only a few people in the church, if every week. So
Right. Yeah, I've heard that folks are segregating because it's a little odd to be decorating the church now for Christmas, right? But people are segregating certain areas of the sanctuary and using this for their filming purposes, for their recording purposes, where you can actually put up Christmas decorations now. It's a challenge, but what else does Christmas Eve look like for you all so far?
We usually do a live nativity for our high school youth as like the family service. It's our hope to still do that. We'll see. We're with no audience. We'll see if there's more restrictions. I don't know what our plan is when there's more restrictions, but our current one is, since we're not going to have anyone but the people who are part of it, we're going to have the piano in the middle of the sanctuary, so we can play music there. We have some choir members spread out 20 feet or whatever the length is, and then just kind of have the same thing of like different spots for people. We usually bring them all together for the last scene, of course, like the nativity, but it might just be like everyone in their own kind of section, doing some kind of action as we read the story. So yeah, that's our hope for family. And then actual Christmas service afterwards would be, we hope to have some in person, but if not, it would pretty much just be what we've been doing for normal services, kind of Zoom, YouTube, all that. So I did have another thing that we've sorry to go back, but we're doing, we usually do gingerbread house making. It's like a night filled with, we do an hour of gingerbread house making. And then once everyone's done, we go outside and light this huge tree. It's actually a giant bush, I would say, that's outside on our lawn. And then we sing carols. So this year, what we're doing is a drive-by pickup. Pick up your gingerbread houses, go home, do them as a family, and then send them in as like photos of just your completed with your family with your completed house. And this year they're selling at Costco. I don't know if they still have them, but they're actually gingerbread mansions this year for the same price as the normal ones. So those are cool. So we're doing that. And then I just heard today that we're doing the tree lighting, but we're just going to encourage humming, but put out lanterns where each family can go to a lantern. So it's spaced out already. And then we'll have like kind of a professional musician playing music somehow from the steps of the church, so that we can kind of still hear the carols and stuff, and then light the tree up together. So yeah.
That sounds lovely. What else? Carol?
That's a great idea, the lantern. I like that. I mean, we usually have like a Christmas party around like the 12th, which is, carols and then it ends with going out to the tree, lighting the tree and everyone kind of singing at the end. And this year we're going to, after the Christmas, that family service, invite people 15 to 20 minutes after the end of the service to come to the parking lot, which means we won't have our parking lot available, but and come and sing, or as you said, hum Christmas carols. But I love that idea of a lantern, because then you can also position it so that people really do stay socially distanced as well. Because as much as we're doing so many things, that's clearly number one. We want people to feel comfortable in coming, that they are wearing their masks, that that it's set up in a way that they feel like they don't have to think about being socially distant. We've already kind of prepared that for them, for those that will do it and some that are harder to do it. But I like that idea. I'm going to bring that up. We haven't really thought too much past that yet. We do tend to have this beautiful, in fact, it's so funny. It was the first time I ever went was last year, because I thought, okay, I took this job. Maybe I should go to the service after the family service as well. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'll come every year now. And I don't know what they'll do yet. I mean, I have to say it's such an amazing choir, and that's the beautiful piece. And I'm not sure yet how they're planning to deliver that differently this year. So I know they're starting to talk about it. And again, the idea being that maybe even like splitting that choir. If you do 2 or 3 services, do you split the choir between those so that everyone feels they were part of it as well? But it's tough also not knowing where we'll be at that time. We'll definitely have a service. The question is, how will that look? It's kind of, we're discussing it now.
What's your, go ahead, Susan.
I'm wondering whether, do you all do silent night usually at the end of your church services, and the kids and everybody? And have you figured out a way to do that? Or are you sending candles home if you're sending things home? Like Steph, when you said you're putting together something, do candles go home for silent night, or?
That's a really good question. I mean, what we have in mind to send home right now will be for the beginning of Advent. I think Christmas Eve is still is sort of up in the air at the moment. What we do for our Christmas pageant will probably get stitched together and be one of the things that we, broadcast on Christmas Eve, but definitely there'll be some sort of candlelight service. I think that's kind of outside my bailiwick at the moment, but I think we're sort of trying to figure out how the virus numbers are looking in terms of how many people we'll be able to have in person at that point. I know over here in Peekskill, where I live, our numbers our current case level just jumped over the weekend. Like,
we've heard that, yeah, the faith-based organization said several weeks ago that people need to plan in such a way that they could be told the day before, no, you're not opening.
Yeah.
And that's a really good likelihood that that's where we'll be. And so they're asking all worshiping communities across New York to plan otherwise.
Yeah, I think at one point a couple of weeks ago, when numbers were a little bit more steady, one of the ideas was to possibly have broadcast the I use the word broadcast. It's probably not even technically correct anymore, but whatever. To do our service on Facebook Live, kind of the way we do on Sunday morning, but maybe have a small number of people in the sanctuary. But at that point, that's when the numbers looked a little better. I'm guessing that thought is kind of being rolled back, probably as we speak.
So if we go to shutting down, it would be down to 10 people or less in the sanctuary at a time.
Yeah. It would just be
like JPU and Dan and John and the choir director could be in there, but you probably couldn't have your whole pageant folks in if we hit that. So the question is, are there other ways to pick those kinds of things up, and things like silent night? That when we've talked to people in some of the other Zooms, people have all said, well, that silent night is the tradition. That's the one that people grab a hold of. And so is there a way to do that somehow? I also wonder, as we move towards mean, we move into Longest Night and we move into Blue Christmas and we move towards New Year's. If there are ways to include children in some of those traditions for the first time, because kids are feeling very different about holidays this year as well as adults are, right? And so we focused a lot on, well, adults who can't travel and won't have family, but kids are being really, I mean, I think of Halloween and how we did Halloween, right? Are there ways to help kids during the season with the way it's going to be different, especially kids who are now old enough to have some sense of traditions? And are you all sort of conjuring with a way to do that?
Well, one of the things that we struggled with when we were trying to decide what to do for Sunday school is that the kids are all on Zoom for school. And so adding another Zoom activity for them wasn't really what the parents were looking for. So we have gone to some in-person, like I said, outdoor in-person, small groups. I mean, we only have a small Sunday school anyway. But I think it's hard to include them in things when the best way to get everybody involved is over Zoom. And it's just not, like I said, it's not what the families are looking for. They don't want the kids on the computers any longer than they have to be.
So one of the pastor calls, one of the pastors said, just sort of by the way, well, you know, maybe we should chuck all our traditions around candles and other things like that, and just have a bonfire where people stand at a distance and Jesus is the light of the world in that way. And the more I thought about it, the more in some ways that seems sort of wonderful for an outdoor activity, which wouldn't be closed down the same way. We're social distance. I don't know that Hitchcock has a place to do a bonfire, but some of the churches might, and or fire pits or something like that that's outdoors with kids, so that there's some tradition for them that makes sense. Luann just sort of threw it in there, and I've thought about it a lot since, and I think it's sort of a wonderful way to keep people together outdoors where because you're right, another Zoom call. I think my grandchildren, if they have to do one more Zoom call, those parents are going to run fleeing, right? So
Along those lines, we did have a social event, outdoor movie night a couple weeks ago. And I didn't attend it, but from what I heard, the kids enjoyed it. So that's another idea, I guess. So I think somebody rented or had a blow up screen and projector. So
Yeah, somebody's getting, one of the churches, I can't remember who, is getting a hot chocolate truck. I didn't know there was such a thing, but apparently there is.
That's nice.
And so, yeah, they're going to have hot chocolate.
That's another idea as well that we have after the family service. Should we have like hot chocolate and candy canes, you know, outside? Again, the problem is like, what's the weather going to be like? What, you know, you get there. Right. We're finding from our congregation, a lot of families are actually quarantining themselves with the 2 weeks before Christmas, and they're planning to go see family. So that's how they're planning to actually spend time with their families, quarantining. They're taking their kids out of school, and they're going to have that period of time. So we have quite a few that actually aren't going to be around, which ironically means the pageant was great because there's kids that are never here for it that actually get to be in it this year that usually don't. But I don't think a lot of people are planning to be around. But again, if the numbers change significantly, that could change all of that. But I would love to know about the hot chocolate truck if that exists.
Feels like there's a truck for everything in New York. I'm learning. So I think there's a hot chocolate truck somewhere.
We also did a movie night a few weeks back as well, about a month ago, and it was a huge success. The parents and the kids really loved that. So that's something we'd love to do again as well. And I hopefully again the weather will just be mild and we'll be able to do things like that.
Right.
How much does that usually cost to rent a portable screen like that?
So we didn't rent ours. We actually bought one for our family about a year ago, and that's now become the church's as well. You know, the back and forth, and then the church has the projector that they use for other things. So the screen was not that much though. It was in terms of like renting. I mean, clearly we could get a bigger and better one if we rented, but for our purposes, what we had was perfectly fine. And I think we just got it off Amazon.
Okay, cool.
That's cool. How may I ask how big? Do you know how big the screen is? Like,
I mean, it would be bigger than, I don't know. I'd have to measure it and let you know. But it's a pretty decent size. We had it up on like rocks. I'm just trying to think what I could compare it to. Yeah, maybe like four. I have 4 window panes here, probably, and like that's 3. It's probably as big as 4 window panes.
Okay. So like maybe like a king size mattress kind of.
Yeah, actually,
Sort of.
no, that's about right. That would be what it was. And you know, once the lights were off and everything, it was perfectly fine. You know, again, it wasn't as big as maybe. Again, I'm sure you get a better one, but that was for the right price. It worked for us.
Cool.
Also, how much would the a chocolate chocolate?
I don't know. I think we have to Google that and find out who that is and who does it. I think it's an entrepreneurial opportunity if nobody can find it, but I think it's an excellent idea. I think it was hot chocolate and something else, and I can't remember what came with that.
And the theory was that either families were there they could come by or they could drive by if they were uncomfortable. Otherwise, pick up hot chocolate and candy canes or whatever the other thing was, and it would still be a way. And if necessary, I think he actually said as well, they could get a candle if they were going to do a candle at home at the same time.
Right.
I know for us, we were going to pass it on to our hospitality committee, which, you know, ironically are like very eager to do something. You know, they have all this stuff. And so we thought we're giving that to them and saying, you know, we'd love to do this if you're comfortable, you know, putting it together. So we'll see. I do know we had Walter's hot dog van out. That was at the beginning. At the beginning of the summer. For our
You all know Walter's hot dogs?
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
If you don't,
I
you
will
need
say, we did that in the spring when we had kind of our cantata, or every other year we do a musical thing, and the prices were really reasonable. And then we had to really negotiate down for the fall. They said supposedly we were out of their COVID time, which I thought we were still in, but anyway, so they did negotiate. That's the good thing. But it definitely, you really have to have a good gathering to make it worth it.
Yeah. Wow. Those are some good ideas. I think we have to embrace the fact that it's just not going to look the same. So it is what it is. I mean, we're going to make it as good as we can, and we're going to make a new memory, and it's clearly something no one's going to forget. This is going to be a Christmas that no one's going to forget. So hopefully those little pictures of kids with staffs and a mask are going to be very different this year than other years. Is there anything else that we can add to the conversation before we close? What was it called again, JP? Illustrated Minute? What is it called?
Illustrated Ministry.
Illustrated Ministry. Sounds like a go-to.
Yeah, and I've purchased their pageant. We're not going to use it because we're stuck in our ways. But if you are thinking about buying it, let me know and I can screen share it or something with you so you can get a preview, better preview than they provide. Yeah, I'd be willing to do that.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
Comes with virtual backgrounds. It's really
That's helpful too. Well, I want to thank you all. Let's do this again. We'll come together again at some point. And you're welcome to obviously get together. And would you care to do that before Christmas and use our Zoom account? You're welcome to do that as well. Please let me remind you that if you're going to be splicing and dicing and recording and trying to do all these things, use Casey Carbone, give him a call. He will be more than happy to walk you through this, to help you figure out how to do this. He's really good at making these accessible and easy for you to do. And he'll help you in any way he possibly can. So please keep that in mind as you're journeying forth into Advent. So thank you all again for coming together. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Go with God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
See you all.
Bye-bye.